Welcome to the Mastering Business Skills podcast, where we interview successful small business owners who share their own journey, mastering the skills they needed to grow and be successful in their business. Learn the struggles, the wins, and all the things they learned along the way, so you can cut down on your own learning curve.
Welcome to Mastering Business Skills. Today we're talking with Anitra Deen, the founder and CEO of Anitra Deen Consulting. She supports women entrepreneurs and small business owners as a networking strategist and fractional COO to create actionable strategies and structures around their businesses to gain momentum toward their vision. Anitra equips her clients with a strategic network to reduce their networking activities so they have a model to expand or scale their business. She's on a mission to support small business owners to move from being stuck and disorganized to having clarity, structure, and momentum to take that next first step. Welcome to the show, Anitra. Networking is so important in business, and I know what you do involves that aspect, and we can't wait to learn more today.
Well, thank you, Sharon and Aaron, for having me. I'm so excited to be on the podcast this afternoon. So thank you so much for the invitation.
You're welcome. We're excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what inspired you to start your business.
Thank you so much for asking. So I, as a networking strategist and fractional COO, I work with women entrepreneurs, and my goal is to turn their networking into strategic business development so they can see more measurable results in client acquisition and revenue generation. So really ensuring that they've got the infrastructure and the strategy around how they're networking so they can be more effective in getting more leads, getting more clients, getting more revenue for the business. And what inspired me to start my business was actually, believe it or not, through networking. I was actually following up with a colleague of mine when I was in a full-time position at the time, and I was following up with her and catching up with her. And in that conversation, I was sharing with her what I was doing in my full-time job. At the time, I also was helping my husband, who was a self-published fiction author at the time. I was helping him in the back end of our self-publishing imprint. And during that conversation of sharing with her what I was doing, she asked me, Anitra, do you think you can help me in my business? And I was like, sure, yes. And that's literally how it started. It literally was through a networking conversation. And now today, I teach women how to really effectively utilize networking business development to grow their companies.
That is so important right now. I know there's a lot of people that struggle with networking. I'm one of them. So we talk about mastering business skills. What is the one skill that you've mastered and that you can share with the audience now? And then they can start to learn and implement it from what you teach them today.
That's a great question. So I would say the skill that I've learned is how to follow up with your partners. Follow-up is essential. One of my mantras that I like to talk about is that follow through is as critical as showing up. And so when it comes to developing relationships through networking, through our referral partners, it is important that we really follow through on what we say, because that capitalizes on that know, like, and trust that we're trying to establish with the people that we build a relationship with. And so most of the times when I talk to my clients around follow-up, it's not necessarily that they don't think that's important. They know that's important. They know that they need to follow up. That is not the case at all. It's not like saying that, hey, you need to take your vitamins. They know. But what gets them stuck is that they don't know how. And so what I would say to the audience today is the how, in essence, is around developing a system and developing a structure. Because in order for you to be a referral-based business, you have to have infrastructure to support those activities. And without that infrastructure, all of the meetings that you have, all the conversations that you have, all the people that you meet completely fall away where there's no infrastructure to support the activities that you do. And so with following up, it's really about having a system in place to be able to do that. And that system really is based upon ensuring that you have reminders. And so typically what I suggest for my clients is to have, if you're starting out, have a spreadsheet, but really want to grow into like some form of a CRM or content management system so that you're able to put all the information that you learn about your partners in one place. So not everything is in a million different places like your LinkedIn and then your inbox and your calendar. So you want to have everything centralized into one place so that you know like who you're actually following up with and the information about them. But then also ensuring that that system allows you to create reminders so that you know, okay, here's the cadence in which I need to touch base with this person in order for me to continue to develop and re-engage them. So that's a very simple kind of, explanation of kind of a simple system around follow-up is ensuring that it allows you to organize everything in one place. It allows you to have reminders. But then more advanced, you want to be able to have a system that can either be automated, semi-automated, or delegated so that you're not the only one, or you have like systems in place that's able to do some of the follow-up on your behalf.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about your Hive Networking Hotline, because I understand that this is an on-demand resource for expert networking and business development guidance designed specifically for solopreneurs and service-based business owners. So tell us a little bit more about that and how that works.
Sure. That's a great question, Erin, and thank you for asking. So the hotline was designed to help accelerate networking follow-up because one of the common questions that I get, and I believe like if every time I ask this question, if I literally would never probably have to buy for Starbucks ever again. But pretty much like that, the question I usually am asked a lot is like, Anitra, like I just had this great conversation. I just went to this great event, but I have no idea what the next step is. I don't know what to follow up with them. I don't know what to say. Should I like reach out to them on LinkedIn and text them? Like what should I do to like get this thing moving? We had this great conversation, but I really don't know what else to say. So what the hotline does is a place where you're able to ask all those burning questions that you get stuck on of like, what should I say after follow-up? Which event should I actually be attending? Like how do I re-engage with somebody who I haven't talked to in like a couple of months? So it's a place where you're able to submit your questions and get personalized advice, as well as the accountability to make sure that you're following through and actually really implementing your follow-up so that you're moving your relationships forward.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I was doing in-person events previously, like I would have the business card and I'd have like little written notes on it, what they looked like, what we talked about, just so that when I got back from the event, I could maybe remember who it was out of my stack of, 50 business cards that I had to reach out to so I could do that personal note. So I like that. And the fact that you cover what events to go to as well, because that's always like a sticking point. It's like, well, is this going to be worth my time? Is that one going to be worth my time? If they're at the same time, which one do I choose? And how do I know it's the right one?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm such the introvert that I completely don't know what I should be asking and what do I need to do to follow up. So yeah, that is great to be able to have that.
Yeah, absolutely, Sharon. And like, and also to Erin, like that piece around, I just went to an event. I'm trying to remember the details of what I talked about. And then, wait a minute, what am I supposed to follow up with them about? And so what I do in that case, as Erin talked about, is helping my clients to understand how to get prepared to go into that event so they know what are the right questions and what they actually need to follow up with. So in essence, going with the end in mind of like, to some degree, to go in with the end in mind of saying, I know exactly what my follow-up is going to be, versus going to the event and then trying to figure out what that is, in essence. Right. But also too, Sharon, that piece of like, what questions should I be asking? Who should I be targeting at these events? Those are absolute great questions and things to know about. And so part of like my work within the hotline is to help to kind of figure out and ascertain for that client of like, what is it that you need to be the most successful and to make that conversation or that event the most successful for you, so that you're walking out and walking away with connections that mean the most for you. Because again, it's not about going to the event and like getting every business card under the sun. It's not like Oprah where it's like you get a business card and you get a business card and you get a business card. Like it's not
Right.
it's not like that. Like going to any type of event or a virtual or networking group or whatnot, it's about intentionality and making sure that like you're talking to the right people. It's far more about quality than it is about quantity.
So
Yeah.
I love that change, especially about being intentional.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, and you also have a networking value calculator, correct?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Tell us a little bit about what that is and how that comes into play.
Sure. So I would love to actually give a little context around kind of like how it all came about too, if you wouldn't mind me sharing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so the value calculator was actually out of a conversation. I was catching up with a partner and a business friend of mine. So I was out networking. And talking to a partner, and she was telling me that she had two conferences that she wanted to go to, and she was like, Anitra, she's like, I have no idea which one to go to. She's like, they're both like have like great they're both are great. Like I can definitely see me doing a lot with them. And so she started to like run through like her kind of rubric per se, like her pro and con list of like what it was. And to be honest with you, when she started to share her pro and con list and the things that was making her deciding factor, it kind of made me cringe a little bit because I'm just like, we're actually using that as our rubric to make a decision about go. Okay. Like that's great, but I don't really think that's going to help you to get to the decision that you need to make. So after like our brunch, I went home and within like 3 hours, I created the calculator because I was just so like on fire after like this conversation. And really what the calculator does, it helps you to calculate the return on the probability of a return on the investment of a networking group, an event, an opportunity. And part of what is created in the calculator is to help you to actually identify the key things, the key decision makers, and actually understanding why that event is going to give you a return on investment. So I look at a couple components of your time capacity, because again, you say that you want to go ahead and like participate in this networking group and, you know, and follow up with people, and you want to spend 5 hours of your week or your month, you know, on this group. But in actuality, you're spending 15 hours. So now, are you actually getting a return on investment? Because that's a whole lot of time and capacity of yours that you're not going to be able to either get back, or it's over what you actually want to put in. So that's an example. The other is around you know, your time cost. And so a lot of times when we go into networking groups, we look at the fixed cost. So like what's the cost of the conference? You know, like what's the cost of travel. So we're looking at the fixed cost, but we're not actually looking at the time cost that we have to recoup. So like how much time you have to go ahead and like follow up with people, how much time you have to travel to the actual event, how much time you're actually participating in the event. Like there's all of these other like time costs that you also have to recoup to ensure that it actually is profitable. So part of what the calculator does is that like if you're like, I'm attending this group, but I don't know if I'm actually getting return on my investment. And also too, is this group actually helping me reach my revenue goals? Which it helps you to calculate. This calculator helps you to do that so that you know, okay, this group is actually contributing this much revenue to my business. This, in order for me to actually make sure that this group is actually profitable and I'm going to get a return on investment, I have to make this much amount of money from my participation in order for this to actually be worthwhile for me. So that's just a couple of examples of just like what the calculator does, so that like, as I think Sharon, you were talking about, and I think Aaron too, you alluded to, of just like, I'm trying to decide which group I want to go to or which event to attend. This calculator gives you some data to actually make some decisions around what it is versus it being more subjective and anecdotal.
That's great. That's a very good point. I mean, I don't know, when I talk about a networking event, I never think about really how much time am I putting in it? What am I getting out of it? Is it really worth it? I mean, I think that's a great tool to
Thank
have.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting out a business and that advice being around networking, what would it be?
That's a great question. So that one piece of advice that I would say is that you need to understand your sales cycle so that you are able to talk to your referral partners and engage with them. Engage with them in a way so that when your clients are in their buying season, your partners are informed about what they do. Because when we start to, and I use this example of just think about if you were an accountant. And accountants typically have some pretty like firm like sales seasons in sense they have tax season and then they kind of have, other different seasons. And so I talk about like, okay, if you're talking about your bookkeeping services to your referral partners during tax season, no one, it's going to be like, not as many people are going to be interested in your services. I'm not saying that you may get some bookkeeping clients during tax season, but for the most part, that's not what people are focused on. They want someone to like do their taxes for them. And so it's important that like we understand our sales cycle so that when we're talking to our referral partners, they're actually sending us tax clients during tax season, not bookkeeping clients during tax season. So
Right.
That's in essence of what I would say is that it's really imperative to really learn the buying season and your sales cycle so that you're informing, so it informs your marketing and it informs your referral partners so that you're actually getting the clients during the right season.
That's great. And a lot of people I know don't even think about that they have certain seasons. I mean, I didn't at first when I started out. It was just like, okay, it's all random, I get this business when it comes. But I've learned what my seasons are as well. So yeah, that's great advice. That is great advice. So what does success mean to you now? And has your definition of it changed over time?
That's a great question, Sharon. And I would say that what success looks like to me, it means to focus on the priorities that matter. And I will say that as I've grown in my business, that definition hasn't necessarily changed, but that definition has helped me to be more focused and intentional about the kinds of decisions that I need to make. And for me, one of the most important parts about, I feel, of being a successful business owner is to be a strategic data-driven decision maker. And so for me to really understand what my priorities are, it informs my boundaries, it informs my ability of where I can say yes or no, and informs my to put some guardrails on my goals so that I'm not getting distracted by other things. So I can actually like work towards like completing it versus trying to get trapped into the shiny object syndrome. So that's what I would say is that like the success looks like to me is that I've actually focused on the priorities and I'm not getting distracted by all the other things that may come my way. But also being able to be flexible, knowing that things change, that priorities may evolve, but really and truly making sure that I'm focused on the most important things and not just the things that may seem good in the moment, but really having something that's more tangible.
Right, right. I agree. So what's the next skill that you plan to master and why that skill?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like I had to take some time to think about that one. When Aaron shared that with me earlier, I would say that conflict management is actually a skill that I want to be a better master of. And the reason why conflict management for me, I believe is my next skill is that when it comes to sales, understanding how people deal with conflict impacts how people make decisions, especially around change. Because if we're confronted with change, it brings around conflict. It brings around, what do I have to do? When we are having a sales conversations, people may object to the reason why they think I'm the best fit. Well, that's conflict. That's just the definition of conflict. And so better understanding like how conflict impacts decision making, how conflict address how people trust, because conflict definitely can affect the way in which people become either more trustworthy or less trustworthy, as well as around like how people how they utilize conflict to interact and communicate with others. And so that's kind of that next thing for me is to really understand like how people do with conflict management so that when I'm engaging in conversations, I have a better understanding of like, okay, your conflict management style means that I probably need to do more things to really establish more trust with you. Here's kind of the next steps and the next kinds of interactions I need to have so that like we can lessen those feelings around conflict versus like, oh, like your conflict style is this. I need to be really direct with you. Like, I don't need to like give you like a compliment sandwich. I just need to just tell you like, here it is, cut and dry, whatever it is, because that's what's going to help you to go ahead and make better decisions.
And that's a great skill to master, for real. Yeah, that is. That is. And it takes a while sometimes to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
So what's next for your business?
Yeah. So what's next for my business is I have been writing a book. I actually and I've been working on this book actually for a couple of years. I actually had to put it on pause in 2024, but I'm actually bringing it working on bringing I've been working on it, bringing it back to work on it again. And I've currently have about like 4,000, 5,000 words for the manuscript with it. It's called Organize Your Ducks: Strategies to Establish Longevity in Your Business. And so really looking at like what are the things that make up a sustainable business, and like how do we get ourselves organized around those things to have longevity.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. Awesome. When will that be out, you think?
Yeah, so looking at having the manuscript done by the end of 2025, with the goal of launching it in either late 2026 or early 2027. So, but the goal is end of year, like no later than New Year's, the manuscript is done. That is the goal.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, you'll have to keep us posted when it comes out.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, definitely. And we are going to drop in our show notes. We have your link to your website, your LinkedIn, the link to the hotline, and to your digital shop. So I'm sure that a lot of our listeners are going to jump right to that hotline and find
Yeah.
out, what they can learn from you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
So,
looking forward to it.
yay. Well, thank you so much for being on today. And to everybody listening, we hope that you enjoyed the show today and that you're here next week when we have our next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anitra.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Sharon. Glad to have been on today.